Lovely to meet you, Arjuna. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about what you guys at Flourish are focused on as regards FinTech.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Pema. It's a real pleasure to be here. Flourish is a venture fund that focuses on backing mission-oriented entrepreneurs across the globe who are working on issues of financial wellness and economic opportunity for the mass market. And we invest in the US, in Latin America, Asia, and Sub-Saharan Africa.
And is there any particular focus as regards FinTech or any type of FinTech startups that you're looking at?
No, we are entirely backed by Pierre and Pam Omidyar, who are the founders of eBay.
Okay.
So we're, in essence, a single LP fund, and
Okay.
I use the word fund loosely because we are a permanent capital vehicle, so we can be very flexible about the type of ideas we back.
Right.
We really think about this notion of systemic change. So how do we build a financial services system that is fairer and accessible and works on behalf of the entire population? So from that lens, we're very focused on these ideas around financial wellness. You know, for a long time, the sector thought about this idea of financial inclusion, which in some ways was a very binary view of the world, right? You're either included in the system or excluded in the system. Yeah. What we're gradually realizing is that even if you're included in the system, a large percentage of the population is still financially vulnerable. They're under a lot of financial stress. Fortunately, today, at the intersection of some of the amazing work done in building sort of technology solutions, as well as real deep user research, like understanding consumer pain points, being able to design against that, iterating, building in behavioral nudges, and at the intersection of the technology and that understanding and that design, I think there's a lot of really exciting ideas coming up that really can build towards this idea of financial health, looking at an individual, a household, a small business holistically and thinking about the set of products and services they need to lead a successful, flourishing financial life.
And I have a personal focus on that myself, and that's why I've got involved in FinTech. Because when I got divorced, I had 3 little children in Australia, and none of the banks would give me a credit card, even because I was working for myself. I had my own business and 3 dependents, and my ex-husband wasn't paying me anything. Wow. So I just thought it seemed so unfair. And when I first came here, I did a project on why women are funded less than men in the first year, and I interviewed the woman that started Dermalogica via Skype. And she was great because she was doing a micro fund for women on Kiva at the time. And she said that women are actually more payback loans much more than men do. Absolutely. And I said, well, why would we be sort of sidelined that way? And so I really feel like just even being a woman has been difficult, particularly if you've got dependents, has been difficult in the whole financial sector, and it should not be when we are such good loan repayers.
The whole history of microfinance has proven that women are the best credit risk.
That's what
right?
She said,
yeah. And it's very clear from experience across the globe. Yeah. And what we often forget, Pimo, is that men and women often play different roles in a household and in a household's finances.
Yes.
And therefore, the products and services you need for them are actually quite different. As you talked about, right? You were in a very different life situation.
Yes.
And what we might think of as a product might need it to be tailored for your particular situation.
But there isn't that sort of flexibility in the incumbents.
Well, yes, and that's I think the big opportunity for FinTech, right?
Yes.
Is to understand the nuances and needs.
Yes.
And then to design against those needs and then build and then rapidly prototype, go back to the customers, get the feedback, come back again.
Yes.
Just if you'll permit me a little anecdote, I was doing some conversations in a market in Kenya, and we were talking to this household. She ran a small illicit liquor bar behind the house. He had a 9-to-5 job. They got busted by the police. He chose to go and spend overnight in prison. because she had all the deep networks that was going to go and get the bail money, right? There's no formal bail system.
Yes.
It was entirely about social networks.
Right.
So he had a very different social network. He was constantly looking to move up the corporate ladder.
Interesting.
Her social network was going horizontally and thinking
Yes.
about who she could rely on
Yes.
when she needed money.
Yes.
This is just one anecdote, and it's
Yes.
far from sitting in Silicon Valley, but it
Yes.
starts to tell you that we can't think of a household as a monolith, and within that household, different people have different roles to play.
Yes, yes, yes. I think it's much more humanising when we
is.
start to break things down like that, and obviously that's what we all are, humans. So,
Yes.
fantastic. So tell me what you see are the major challenges at the moment in the fintech domain as regards where you're sitting as an investor.
So we actually look across the globe, and the nature of the challenges tend to vary by market. Paymo. So some markets, like sub-Saharan Africa, you see there's just a lack of capital. There's a lack of mentorship for tech businesses and fintechs in particular, because a lot of people see financial services as an easily monetizable service compared to some of the other tech businesses,
Yes.
right? So you see a lot of activity, yet there's a gap in financing and mentorship and growth. Certain other markets have regulatory challenges. So there's either stringent regulation, or more often than not, there's unclear regulation. So as a fintech building a business, you don't exactly know what the rules of the game are, and you're often in
Until they come crashing
until they come
down on
crazy.
you.
Yeah. So how much time are you willing to spend in a gray zone,
Yeah.
right? So I think that's some of the challenges. And then one of the basic things is we're creatures of habit.
Yes.
It's really hard to get me to switch my bank account,
Right.
right? It's so entrenched in my life
Yes.
that even though there might be a different option out there,
Yeah.
it's hard to make that switch. So I think initiatives like open banking and portability of banking data will really level the playing field for fintechs.
Right.
Now, I think the flip side of that is right now, fintechs, the banks will argue that fintechs are being lightly regulated as tech companies. And when there's, you know, heavier regulation, how will they compete? So I think there's a lot of questions out
Yeah,
there around
yeah.
how the market will evolve and find an equilibrium.
Right. So you have to be willing to take the risk to be an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. And I think that's what I think I'm very lucky to be part of Flourish and have the backing of the Omidyar family, because
Yes.
we're an investment entity backed by an entrepreneur for other entrepreneurs.
Yes,
Right. So we
yes.
recognize the challenges. We know
Yes.
this is not easy. It's not a short-term
Yes, yes.
win. So we can be patient. We can bring all of the sort of ancillary services that you need to build a startup.
Yes.
And there's a small sort of pool of capital we set aside to work on policy issues, regulatory issues, to back thought leaders in doing research, which we do through a very small grant funding pool, because we believe that in a regulated industry you need to engage across the ecosystem.
Yes.
To even help your fintechs be successful.
Yeah.
And these are some of the ingredients that we believe are missing from the broader debate around helping fintechs thrive.
Fantastic. So tell me, what's your personal vision of where we're going with the fintech domain?
Wow. I'd love to think about fintech in 10 years as really helping you not just solve the problem of optimally managing your money, but helping you think about how to create greater economic opportunity and economic growth, right? Because that's really that's our big challenge,
lovely,
right?
yeah.
And I think we have the tools and services today to help you holistically understand your finances. But I think what we're seeing across the globe is people just don't have enough income flowing in. Yet there are so many opportunities to optimize for your time, your intellectual capital, and your human capital. So I'd love for us as a tech industry to start solving those problems that, twinned with fintech writ large, can actually allow everyone in society to thrive.
So glad you're an investor in Silicon Valley. Thanks so much for coming, and I'm looking forward to the panel.
Thank you for having me, and I hopefully we'll continue this and
Definitely.
touch on this and many other issues shortly.
Definitely. Thank you.